For those who call Las Vegas home, we know there's a lot more to Vegas than the Strip. There's no denying the glitz and glamour of our city, but the beauty of Las Vegas goes beyond that. I'm Kalina Estrinos, and welcome to Close to Home, part of our How to Vegas series, where we provide you with a guide to a few easy-to-get-to local escapes. Over the next 30 minutes, 13 Action News' Jordan Gartner will be taking you on a quick trip to some adventures and places we can all enjoy close to home. First up is the natural wonder of Red Rock Canyon. It's not something you would expect to see in the desert, but its beauty is a must-see in person. It's right outside of Las Vegas, and it has plenty of hiking trails.
Red Rock Canyon is a sight to behold in southern Nevada and gives visitors a first-hand look at the natural beauty found in the Mojave Desert. The Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area is a quick 35-minute drive from the Las Vegas Strip and shows off its own colors that can't be found on Las Vegas Boulevard. The start of the canyon is the Red Sandstone Peaks, where visitors can get several up-close and personal views of the canyon along a 13-mile scenic drive. And there is no shortage of hiking trails at Red Rock Canyon, where 22 different trails can be found just on the scenic drive alone. Officials at the canyon say the Calico Tanks Trail tends to be one of the more popular spots inside the canyon. It shows off the Calico Hills while being one of the first stops on the drive. But not to be overlooked is a high point overlook found at the midpoint of the drive. Visitors are able to see the entire canyon while looking back to the city. And you certainly will not miss the massive White Rock Hills along the drive, located just past the overlook stop. The conservation area is home to desert wildlife, plants, Native American petroglyphs, and a visitor center that captures it all. Visitors can beat the heat by viewing the canyon inside and also find out more on the history of the famous Red Rocks. The canyon is open year-round to visitors, with the most popular visiting times being in spring and fall, where temperatures tend to cool down and drop below the triple-digit mark. Officials say it's best to arrive early and pack smart when enjoying the canyon trails, from wearing proper clothing to, of course, having plenty of water. The Strip has the lights at night, but the Red Rocks are the ones shining bright during the day. Reporting, Jordan Gartner, 13 Action News.
With all the changes we've seen throughout the years right here in southern Nevada, Boulder City remains its charming self. The city that built the Hoover Dam is proud of its roots with plenty of history on display. Take a look at what makes Boulder City one of the most interesting towns in Nevada.
Boulder City is less than 30 miles from Las Vegas, but the charming town feels like a world away. The small-town, big adventure city is home to a lot of Nevada history, several unique shops, experiences, and eateries.
And what they appreciated most was the authenticity of this town. It doesn't put on any airs, it's authentically what it is, and people get to see history embodied in an authentic destination.
Roger Schaff is with the Boulder City Historical Association and says that the city that built Hoover Dam has simply been true to its roots.
And what makes it unique actually is its history. You know, it's one of the few places that relate to a singular event and as the sort of springboard for its history, and that was the construction of Hoover Dam. So many of the workers brought their families. So while they were here, they created churches and schools and businesses and all that sort of thing because, well, during the Depression, there really wasn't anywhere else to go. So whenever the construction was finished and the construction companies moved out, the people and their families decided to stay here. That root that makes it sort of a family town. They never allowed gambling into the town.
Boulder City was established in 1931 to house builders of the Hoover Dam. And several of those structures are still standing today, including the colonial-style Boulder Dam Hotel that is located in the heart of downtown. The historic building works as a hotel with a restaurant and is home to the Boulder City Hoover Dam Museum.
You'll find the history of the men and women who built Hoover Dam. Boulder City didn't exist prior to the building of the dam. It was built in order to house the workers that constructed the dam. So we tell the story mostly of those workers. What we did was we looked at what the parts of the story they told at Hoover Dam, which is mostly about the engineering and the technology and things like that, and then we supplement it with the story of the people that built it.
The museum features interactive exhibits and authentic artifacts that illustrate the building of the then Boulder Dam.
We have oral histories of people that lived here at the time. You can listen to those. There's ways to get a blast of the desert heat that they had to endure when they lived down by the river. There's a crane to operate to bring it over and pretend like they're pouring concrete. In order to get in Boulder City, you had to have a pass, and it had to be stamped. Well, we've replicated that here, and there's 3 places to get stamps throughout the museum.
And just before the museum, you'll see the Boulder City Art Guild Gallery. The gallery shares only local works of art from Nevadans, where visitors can find a little bit of everything.
People displaying are members of the Boulder City Art Guild, and they sort of pay for a space here. So people come in and they'll see everything from postcards, pottery, glass, wood, oils, photographs, watercolors, acrylics, you name it. We have every kind of art there is.
Regina Marvin leads the Boulder City Art Guild and says she has called the city home for about a decade and loves the community feel.
We heard about Boulder City when we were on vacation. We went to Las Vegas and we came out here, of course, and toured the dam, and we loved the place. It's about the same size of the city that we lived in before we retired, and we've been here since we bought a house in 2011. So it's a very nice community, very low-key, and you almost don't have to lock your door. It's just a wonderful community.
Outside the Boulder Dam Hotel, you'll spot more antique stores along Nevada Way, the main drive through the historic Old Town, along with an array of cute cafes, restaurants, and even a brewery. Perhaps one of the more recognizable eateries in the area is the Coffee Cup Cafe. The walls are lined with surfboards and photos inside the restaurant that offers breakfast and lunch items. Guy Fieri even included the cafe in his earlier days on his famous Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives TV show on the Food Network. Just about a block away, you'll find the Boulder Dam Brewing Company. It's a brew pub with an American cafe menu, an outdoor space, and of course a list of hometown brews. The outskirts of town continue the city's historical roots with the Veterans Memorial Park and the Nevada State Railroad Museum. Guests can ride historic trains along old-school rail routes while even walking through a museum. And a trip to Boulder City wouldn't be complete without a drive to Lake Mead National Recreation Center, and of course to Hoover Dam. The two are just about a 15-minute drive on US 93, and while on the way, make sure to stop at Hemingway Park to enjoy a view of Nevada's desert bighorn sheep. Boulder City has something for everyone, and is a visit all Nevadans should make. Reporting, Jordan Gartner, 13 Extra News.
Welcome back to this How to Vegas special. For more on things to do around the valley, just visit ktnv.com/things to do. Las Vegas is known as a destination that's always changing, but there's at least one place in town that takes visitors back to Southern Nevada's roots, and that's the Clark County Museum. Let's go ahead and go back in time with a first-hand look at Clark County's history.
The Clark County Museum is home to an array of artifacts, preserved buildings, and a space where visitors can explore Southern Nevada's history firsthand.
Kind of go through the history of our area from prehistoric all the way to our current industry.
Acting Administrator Amber Colbert says the museum is 30 acres and located in Henderson, just off of Boulder Highway. It's about a 30-minute drive from the Las Vegas Strip and a perfect stop on the way to Boulder City.
So we're actually one of the oldest museums in Las Vegas. We started in 1968 in a small high school gymnasium, the town site high school gymnasium. Wasn't quite the appropriate place, so eventually they needed new land. City of Henderson owned this land here. They said, we'll give that to you. So the county stepped in and said, you know what, we're going to back this. You can be part of the county system. And the county took it over, took this land over, and we eventually got a building. And we were looking for a building, and it just so happened in Boulder City, the railroad depot needed to be moved. So we moved it here, and that housed our original museum.
Visitors are first welcome to the Anna Roberts Parks exhibit. She was an avid collector, and her exhibit takes those through a timeline of Southern Nevada history.
So the Ann Roberts Exhibit Hall is a building that was built in 1996 to feature some of the artifacts of our big collection of over 1 million artifacts. So you go in and it's actually set up like a timeline. So each thing has a diorama where you can kind of immerse yourself into what our history was, all the way to our current industries and industries we've had in the past. So, weddings and gaming and all those casinos that came and have gone and were constantly changing. And then we have, at the end of our timeline, we're featuring the 1 October incident. That is the most current thing that kind of have a big dramatic effect on our community.
One of the more interesting parts of the museum is Heritage Street, a tree-lined avenue with 8 historic structures from Southern Nevada that were all relocated to the museum.
We have Heritage Street, which we're standing on right now, which is where we have moved historical homes from all over Southern Nevada to preserve them, and so that the visitor can come in and experience what it was like to live in Southern Nevada in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. We include a wedding chapel from Las Vegas Boulevard that you can walk into, kind of figure out what it was like to walk into those little tiny wedding chapels.
Among the buildings on display is the 1912 Beckley House, a Las Vegas structure relocated from the downtown area.
So walking through, it's like stepping back in time, but making that connection to the community that we live in now. So when you walk through, for example, the Beckley House, which is behind me, this was built in 1912. He wanted to build her a house. So 1912, he built her this house for $2,500. It's a craftsman bungalow. It was down on 4th Street. You can walk into that now, and it actually has furnishings that were from the Beckley family. And you can see what it was like when they lived here in 1920.
Another real-life display at the museum is the 1932 Boulder City Depot, where the collection of railroad cars include a real 1918 Union Pacific steam engine, along with a few other items from the 1930s.
The railroad depot has been restored to what it would have looked like when it was in Boulder City and serving the building of Hoover Dam. So if you walk inside, you'll see a large floor scale where they weighed the things before they put them on the train. You'll hear a telegraph in the background. So it kind of steps back to that 1930s train depot.
The museum costs visitors $2 for adults and $1 for children. It is open daily from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., with fall being one of the best times to visit.
Right now we're hitting that perfect temperature where it's nice, and on this shaded street during the afternoon, it's quite nice when a breeze comes by. Mornings are absolutely gorgeous here. We have a little bit of wildlife that come out. We have some hawks, some roadrunners, maybe a coyote here and there. Of course, lots of cottontail rabbits running around.
Looking ahead, the museum will be adding to its displays with a new storage exhibit coming online soon that will house more of the 1 October items from that time.
Finally have a great state-of-the-art building. It's 4,000 square feet. That's actually where we're going to house the whole 1 October collection together. We actually measured shelves out to make sure that they'll fit all the crosses in one row of shelves, so they'll all be together, they'll all be preserved for the future.
Where changes are constant nowadays, the Clark County Museum is a place where we can all explore the rich and colorful history of Southern Nevada. Reporting, Jordan Gartner, 13 Action News.
We'll be back with more of this How to Vegas special right after the break. Welcome back to this How to Vegas special. For more on things to do around the valley, just visit ktnv.com/things to do. Did you know Las Vegas is home to one of the largest urban wetlands in the Southwest? The Wetlands Park right here in Clark County is home to several wildlife, trees, and hiking paths for all of us to enjoy.
The Clark County Wetlands Park is nearly 3,000 acres in size and is the largest park in the county. But even with its size, environmental specialist Ben Duran says it remains a hidden gem off of East Tropicana and Wetlands Park Lane.
Yes, we are still a little bit of a hidden secret here in the Las Vegas Valley. We are a 2,900 acre park, so we are actually the largest park in the Clark County Parks and Recreation System. We have a 210 acre nature preserve, which is where we are right now. Lots of trails, paved trails, unpaved trails, all kinds of ways to come out and experience nature, maybe even encounter a little bit of wildlife as well.
The park started back in 1991 and has become a major recreational and educational resource in the valley. The park serves as a popular destination for hikers, bird watchers, and is an important part of our water system in southern Nevada.
So the Wetlands Park is all created by the water that's really used by all the people in the valley. We are the major feature of the Clark County Wetlands Park is the Las Vegas Wash. That is actually our urban river at this point. We do get some water from all of the runoff channels that you find out throughout the valley, and we're kind of like the drain of the valley. So all the water that gets used and all the water that gets used by us in our houses, but also outside, everything that basically ends up on the street in those stream channels, all ends up coming down into the Las Vegas Wash and into the Clark County Wetlands Park.
Wetlands Park features more than 20 miles of trails, including 6 miles within the nature preserve that is the heart of the park at 210 acres.
Here in the nature preserve, we have about 6 miles of paved and unpaved trails. All the paved trails are ADA accessible, but we don't allow bikes or dogs in the trails in the nature preserve. And this is really to give everybody the opportunity to maybe see some wildlife, and it's also to help to protect the animals too.
Some of the popular sites in the nature preserve include the Cottonwood Grove, Boardwalk Pond, and Verns Pond and Island.
We have several distinctive kinds of habitats here. Some of them are really not ones that you see very often in the Las Vegas Valley or in the Mojave Desert. We have here where we're standing is what we call a riparian habitat, which is where you can see these big tall trees. It's basically where all of the running water is. So this was a place that if you were back in time, 150 years, you would have seen tall trees and known that there was water here. So this is actually a very special place because we have recreated a lot of the native habitat until all of the development happens.
The area has 3 distinct habitats and miles of paved and unpaved trails, where visitors can escape both the city and the desert.
If you've never been out here to the Clark County Wetlands Park, I'd recommend coming to the nature preserve. We have a lot of different things to see in just a just a small little area here. So there's a lot to check out if you want to see. We have 4 distinctive different kinds of habitats, and of course each one has their different kinds of plants and animals that are in them. So there's a lot to explore.
The park is home to more than 300 species of birds, and numerous mammals and reptiles have been spotted in the park.
We have all kinds of wildlife out here, things that you would expect to see in the desert, like coyotes and roadrunners and that sort of thing. We do also have some snakes in the park, but they are generally of the non-venomous type. Some of the more unusual animals that we have here in the park, we do have a very healthy population of beavers. Because we have all this water, all these ponds and streams, they have made their home here, and if you're out here early in the morning, you might be able to see one of them.
There is also a 14-mile wetlands loop trail that runs along the perimeter of the park, where work is being done to complete its full connection. And several of the park's trails are accessible throughout the east part of town, including the Duck Creek trailhead with shrubs, grass, and trees.
I talk to people every day who are still coming out here and discovering the Clark County Wetlands Park for the first time. There's a lot to see here. I think probably one of the most special things, we have the presence of all this water, which allows for all these different trees and all these different kinds of habitats. Comments I get from people is that they forget that they're in the Mojave Desert, they forget that they're in the Las Vegas Valley. All those things, it's really that kind of an immersive place where you can just come in and experience nature. I think that's kind of one of the most unique features about the park.
Wetlands Park is open year-round and is something to be included on your outdoor activities in Las Vegas. Reporting, Jordan Gartner, 13 Action News.
Welcome back to this How to Vegas special. For more on things to do around the valley, just visit ktnv.com/things to do. Several of us call Henderson home, but did you know it's also home to an artisan booze district? Local business owners have joined forces to bring people together over a few cocktails and brews. And as you'll see, there's a lot more brewing in Henderson than meets the eye.
Many of us head to the east side of town in Henderson to maybe look for a new car at the Valley Auto Mall. But there's a hidden gem that shouldn't be overlooked, and that's the nearby booze district. Local business owners have brought their own flair and community vibe to the industrial area, where you'll find unique breweries, a distillery, and a winery.
So Craft House Brewery is in Henderson, and we are residents here, and we love Henderson, so we wanted to make delicious craft beer for our community.
Co-owner and founder of Craft House, Wendy Forrest, says the Las Vegas distillery was the first to start making booze in the district.
The originator of the booze district and the brainchild behind it was George, and he was the owner of the Las Vegas distillery. He's passed on, but we're still continuing his legacy, and his wife is still running the Las Vegas distillery. He had a dream to have artisan alcohol makers here located in all one central location.
Forrest lobbied the city of Henderson to change its laws that pricey taverns had to have gaming and wanted a different feel for the district.
We planted down roots here. It took us a little bit of time to change the licensing and the zoning to allow us to have this business model, but we worked with the city for about 18 months, wrote new licensing that was more craft beer friendly, and then the booze district sprang up.
Craft House has been open for nearly 7 years and offers a variety of brews and also a community connection that can be felt even before the first pour.
We build camaraderie and community with all of our neighbors, and even people who are visiting out of town. They quickly become our friends and our family, and we do all of that around quality-driven beer.
And those beer options range from a seasonal Czech Pilsner to their year-round favorites like Resonate IPA and their Silver State Blonde Ale.
Our top seller is always Silver State Blonde. It has the beautiful Sunrise Mountains on the can. It can please palates all across the board. And if you're visiting for the first time, I always recommend trying a tasting flight, so you can have 4 taster samples in as many as you'd like, and that way you can try the whole portfolio, and then you can know what to order as a pint after that.
Just across the way, you'll find Bad Beat Brewing with its new head brewer, Amanda Keller.
Had the great opportunity to come over to Bad Beat and actually take over their operation here. And it's just been a dream of mine to help run a brewery. And we're making great beer here.
Bad Beat was the first brewery to call the Booze District home and has continued to be a local favorite for beers such as the Ringer, a German Pilsner, 2 Hoppy Times, a West Coast IPA.
One of my favorite is the Ringer. It's a Pilsner. It's clean, crisp, German-style Pilsner. And then one of my other favorites is Hoppy Times, and it's our IPA. And it has my favorite hop, Chinook, in it. And it has some pine characteristics and a lot of citrus characteristics. I love it.
And the newest brewery to call the district home is Astronomy Aleworks.
The 3rd brewery in the Booze District, the 5th place to open up. 10-barrel brew house, same size as Craft House. Bad Beat opened with the 10-barrel brewery, and they have upgraded to a 15-barrel brewery. So we just expanded our fermentation to now we can ferment 80 barrels of beer at a time.
Brewer and founder Matt Brady says he is always up for cooking up something different, but beer fans can enjoy a solid variety from a golden ale to the return of the Citra Amber Pale Ale.
Our 2 biggest sellers right now are the Golden Ale, which is a blonde ale. We put that all across the valley in cans and in tap. And the return of the Citra Rye IPA. It's a rye IPA, West Coast style, 6.7% alcohol. Very strong, very good.
Guests can enjoy all of Brady's beers while taking a trip to outer space in the Ale House tasting room. The Booze District in Henderson is less than a decade old, but its influence is felt throughout the valley. Several new breweries have called Las Vegas home just in the past few years, including Craft House expanding to the Arts District. Henderson's Booze District may be a little hard to find, but once you do, you'll definitely return for a second round. Reporting, Jordan Gartner, 13 Action News.
Thanks for watching Close to Home as part of our How to Vegas weekly series. If you miss any part of this program, just hit the back button on your remote, scroll down until you see KTNV Digital Exclusives. There you'll find this show and all of our dedicated streaming content. Stay tuned for more from 13 Action News after the break, and check us out anytime here on KTNV Streaming, Las Vegas News on your time.